over that way a little more. So y'all can be closer in the frame. There you go.
Good, man.
Perfect.
Good, dog. Looking like a sportscaster. What? Dog? That's what's up, man. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Everybody got sound?
Let me see, man.
Let me get a bomb in his head. Let me get a bomb in his head. Let me get a bomb in his head.
Hey, boy. You ready to the set, boy?
It's loud.
You ready to the set?
It's loud.
No, he said it's live, man. This show, man. This show live, bro.
It's loud and loud.
Hey! This is the second version. Hey! Come on, man. Man, I gotta put this dog. I gotta put dog with the boys. Is this the joint or what?
Oh, you like that one better?
Ooh!
Oh, Lord.
Man, I'm all like, ah!
Hey, you see what I'm up against every week, man?
Ooh!
You see what I'm up against every week? Don't break the chair there.
Getting in the zone.
Man, this right here? Man, I told you about cleaning up, bro.
You were sick last week.
Clean up, man.
Ain't nobody-
Clean up.
That's what you got.
Clean up.
You clean up, man.
Hey,
Clean up.
man. What I told you about,
Don't
man.
get on the floor.
Clean up, bro.
Oh, you gonna pick up every one of them.
Hey, bro.
You gonna pick up every one
When
of
I
them.
come in here, man.
You gonna pick up every one of them.
Hey, man.
I done told you what I'm saying.
When I come in here, I want you to clean up, bro.
Ain't no cleaning up.
I want you to clean this place up, man. Especially when we got a guest. I told you this man was coming. Hey, get this old mean muggy joker from up here, man.
What it is? Get on. Don't
I don't know, man. Look at this dude's face, bro. Yo, man, why you gonna be mad? You sir?
He running for sure.
Bro, he don't need to be
Hold
looking
on,
like
hold
this,
on,
bro.
hold on. Hold on, your mic is on. Your mic is on.
Hold on, man. Hold on.
All
Oh!
right, your mic is on. Stop making
Oh! Why you cut the music short?
Ain't no short. That's where your music at.
No, bro, don't do that, man.
Man, talk, man. You got people.
You
You got people watching you,
man.
man. You got people watching you. Ain't no music cut short.
Man, are you
Talk.
serious?
Talk.
Man, play it again.
Ain't nobody gonna play it no more. You ain't paid for one round this
What?
this week.
What?
You ain't played for one song this
Why
week.
don't
You
say
paid
something?
for.
You gonna play my
I ain't
song?
gonna play it.
All right, man. I'm not gonna. You about to make me. I ain't gonna turn the Ric Flair on you. Turn the table
Oh,
on. We got a
look
guest
at
in here. I ain't gonna do it.
Look at don't make me. Don't,
No,
don't,
man, hold up, man. Let me introduce the show, bro. You're
Don't-
doing too much.
Don't make me turn the Wahoo make that.
Y'all
Don't do.
going back those.
No, don't let me turn the goddamn Thunderbolt.
JYD junkyard.
Man, hey, man.
I
Calm
go
down,
out
let me
there all day.
introduce the show. These people ain't.
Junkyard dog.
Bro, these people ain't. Hey, man.
Go
Good
ahead,
evening,
man.
good evening, good evening. This is your host, Joaquin Thompson Sr., coming to you live from.
Where
Where
you
we at?
living?
Right now from Atlanta, man. Go down past the Big Rock and keep going straight. We on the right.
My man said, what I come into?
So I'm your host, Joaquin Thompson Sr. This is the Daily Bread Show, and we're on episode 118.
Yes, sir.
Episode 118. That means that we've done 117 episodes to educate, motivate, and elevate people to just really get your financial literacy, personal finance, financial well-being, just to get it right. And what we do every week is, this show is about personal finance. And what we do is, each and every week we take a different aspect of personal finance and we talk about it. We discuss it. We give you strategies. We give you steps, things that you can use to improve your life. The thing we say about the Daily Bread Show is this. Even though we're talking about financial literacy, we do it from a spiritual perspective. We do not do religion on the Daily Bread Show. So if you come at us with the, hey man, and I had a couple people approach me like that. I'm Muslim, I'm Christian, I'm Buddha, hey man, that's just too much, bruh. We only do one thing on the Daily Bread Show, and that's God. So if you see me do this, that means it's God. Because that take care of everything. So whatever you want to call it, however you want to say it, however you want to do it, how you want to do it. And that's what we do. But we only do God over here. So don't come at me with, Nation of Islam and all this other stuff, man, because I don't get it. I don't, man. It's just God. With me, it's just God, bro. So very excited, man. I got my chapter brother.
Neo.
You know what I'm saying? Got my little Neo in the building. You know what I'm saying? We've been talking about this for a while, man, and I'm excited. You can tell how hyped I am, man. I'm excited to have this brother here, man. This brilliant brother, man.
What is
Brilliant.
What is Team 6?
I don't know. Oh, we the Sixers, bro.
Yeah.
We the Sixers. Who said that? Who?
Kent Benson.
Hey, dog. What's hey?
Pete, Rudolph.
So
Okay.
the Sixers. Man, you won't know about that, man. You ain't no Six. You like See, there you go, man. See, now you gonna mess up the show, man. See, you about to come make us come out the frame, man. You like Mike Hill, like a 1 or a 2, bro. But anyway, these are Sixers, bro.
Oh,
So it's been in the making for a while, man. We've been talking about this for a while, man. And but today is the day.
Today's the day.
This is the day it's supposed to happen. Is your microphone up?
I don't know, testing.
Yes,
Can you
sir.
hear me? Everybody hear me?
No, they can't hear you, bro.
Yeah,
Turn that man microphone up, bro.
Today is the
There
day.
you go. Bingo.
Today's the day.
Yes. You trying to say you don't hear that?
So listen, man. Listen, Mike. Listen, Mike.
Yeah.
You know that's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna act like Sticky in here
Hustle
now.
the flow. No, I'm good.
All right, Mike. I need you to.
No,
All right. And you from where?
I'm from Memphis.
All right.
Born and raised.
All right.
Bluff City.
Oh.
One time.
Ooh.
Oh, he going in. He going in. He going in. Man going in. Oh,
Now he getting comfortable. Now he getting comfortable. Like,
He
okay.
going in.
Okay.
He going in.
Okay. And I'm from where? Where I'm from?
What
I'm from goddamn Dubai. That's where I'm from, baby. That's where I'm from. But we got a very, very, very exciting show. So we're going to switch it up tonight, man, because Joe has some pent up. He has some pent up
Bunch.
stuff
Yeah.
that he wanted to come. He said, man, I want to come to your show and get it off my chest. Right?
Yeah.
He said, I want to come and bless your audience. I said, that's what's up. That's what we do, man. We here to educate, motivate, and elevate. So we're gonna hit a couple of different topics. I'm gonna let Joe take the lead on different things. But before we jump in there, man, tell everybody, man, who is Joe Rob, man? Who's Joe Robinson, man?
That's a great question. First off, God is with me.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was interesting you said that because I thought about like the very first thing I would say sitting next to you here is gonna be God is great.
Come on.
Oh my
Come on.
goodness.
Straight up.
Come on,
That's
man.
not-
Come on,
that's
man.
not-
Say it,
That
man.
mean he in the building, right?
Say
That
it,
ain't making nothing up. That ain't going on. What you just said. I had literally been saying I'm going to say very first starting out that God is great because
Come
if
on.
it wasn't for the Lord,
Come on.
I wouldn't be sitting here doing this.
You better say it. You better say it. Go ahead, preach.
I wouldn't even have the mindset because, you know, my walk of finance and trying to help people, it has to have tithing as a part of that. And that's personal for me.
Right.
That may not work for everybody in the audience, but for me, just a quick anecdote, I've literally tried not to tithe.
Now, just to not to cut you off, but just to remind people, episode 117, we just talked about this last week. We just talked about this last week, and I said it was what? It's a law. It's like gravity. It's a law. But go ahead, man. Tell your story.
So yeah,
Tell your story.
so that's who I am. God is first in my life. Native of Memphis, Tennessee, born and raised.
Man, you already said that one
Very
time.
proud.
We already
I'm
gave
proud
you-
of it, but I'm proud of it.
You
I
proud
had
of
to
it?
reiterate that.
That's what's
Because
up.
that shaped my financial views as well.
For sure.
Growing up not having much, parents were teen parents, raised as kind of like the baby of the family by my grandmother, who
Wow.
had a 4th, 5th grade education, who went home to be with the Lord last Mother's Day. So that shaped who I am. But conservative by nature in terms of finance, but understanding that it's a walk that's an individual walk, but to me there are some principles that can help guide. And part of it is being able to share information or whatever you have as your gift to help other folks. And that's why it's such a blessing to be here and
Come on.
to talk to you today because
Oh.
as much information as I have, and I get to, background in finance, worked in commercial lending for 10 years, yada, yada. But as much information as I have in terms of that, I still can be taught, and there's still room for me to be educated and learn.
Come on.
Right.
So I want to know more about what you're doing, because I really don't have a full understanding of what you're doing here. You
Okay.
gave me your card on your business.
Okay.
So my point is, I want to teach, but I want to be taught to.
Ooh.
Man, while I'm here,
Man, I need more guests like this, boy. Sure, this man, I want to teach and I want to be
I
taught.
want to learn.
So you ain't want to be goddamn with.
No, and the point, you don't know it all.
That's what I'm saying. Smarty pants. You don't want to be
Don't know
smarty
it all.
pants.
No,
man.
you don't know it all. So I have background in finance. I initially came to Morehouse in 1992 as an engineering major
Whoa.
because my big cousin went to Georgia Tech, played football at Tech, graduated a chemical engineering degree, married a beautiful sister, moved out to Duluth, and I was like, well, hell, I want that life. You know, what I need to do, what do I need to do to get that life?
No, I want to be an engineer too.
And I want to be an engineer. So,
That's what's up.
So I came to school doing the dual degree program at Morehouse. 3 years of science, did a bachelor's of science from Morehouse and an engineering degree from Tech. And that first class of physics and chemistry whipped me
So you was
like
spinning.
I had stole something.
You was
Straight up.
spinning. You was like,
Yeah, first D I ever made in my life was in physics at Morehouse. And I was like, it just got to be a better way. So I got to tell this story because it shaped me sitting here today. So I went back to my dorm and I picked up the Morehouse handbook. And I literally went through every major we had at the school and I crossed out stuff that I had no interest in. Excuse me. This process took about 10, 15 minutes. At the end of it, brother, 3 things were left: religion, Spanish, and business. So hablo un poquito español, pero no muy bueno. Necesito practicar.
me too. Me
So I
too.
speak a
Me
little
too.
bit. Yeah,
Me
yeah,
too.
speak a little bit.
Me
So,
too.
but it wasn't enough
Is
for
that
me
Spanish?
to. That's español. That's South.
That's
I said,
That's South Memphis. South Memphis español.
That's Missy.
Yeah,
Me
yeah,
too.
yeah. So, but it wasn't enough to want to major in it.
Right.
Okay? Then the religion side was, okay, well, how do I monetize that? I don't want to be a preacher, and I couldn't figure out how to monetize it. So I said, well, let me just, it's 5:30 in the afternoon, class is out. Maybe I can be directed. So I just walked to the business school. And I took the elevator up all the way to the 3rd floor. Classes were out. It was 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. Nobody was there. Walked to the 2nd floor. Nobody was there. Went all the way to the basement. And I had only been in the basement of Wheeler Hall, that's where business school is at Morehouse, once or twice. And I'm walking around, and I hear a voice saying something about real estate. So I stuck my head in, it's a strong New York accent. And that guy said, hey, you are interested in learning more about commercial real estate? Yeah, sure. And the rest is history. That professor came and sat in his class. He was teaching principles of real estate. Never had been exposed to real estate a day in my life. Became my mentor, lifelong mentor, Alan Panado, native of the Bronx, New York. He was the first African-American, half African-American, half Italian, but African-American to work at New York Life as a full-service insurance agent in like 1948, something like that, 1952.
Right.
Old school. So his mission is still living, still with us. In fact, we just had lunch with another colleague of mine, Richard Slayton. Shout out to Richard Slayton, SVP, Bank of America, good friend, college classmate. We just took Professor Bernardo to lunch because we're getting ready to help chronicle a book about his life and the influence he's had on us as young commercial real estate professionals, graduating Morehouse, working in New York. Because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have worked at TIA Cref. I wouldn't have got the job in commercial real estate, wouldn't have had my license at 21 years old, doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for that man's class and his direction. So literally, that experience shaped my entire existence in this real estate and finance industry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about everybody else, but one of the things he said is, I could teach, but I'm here to be taught too.
Yes, sir.
Right, you teaching. You teaching. See, you notice, anytime that you come on this set, or anytime anybody knows, I always have a pen and paper with me. I'm always taking notes because what you just laid on us, man, that's the kind of stuff that I really try to expose people to is because that world that you just kind of grazed over, that's where it's at, man. When you start talking about commercial real estate, commercial finance, and finance, that's where it gets done at. That is the underpinning of the United States.
Yep, it's everything.
It's everything.
It's everything. So I was telling this story, and I'll tell a little bit more of my career in a minute, but I was telling this story. I was just out in the training with my current job, and I was telling, I can't remember who it was, a colleague, basically saying that I used to do a lot of teaching in schools, mentoring program. And the way I would come and say, hey, kids, what careers you want to do, yada, yada, yada. I said, you ever thought about a career in finance or real estate? Because everything is about finance, real estate. So I used to try to challenge the kids to say, okay, no, Ms. Robinson, I want to be da. I said, well, whatever you want to do in life, you tell me, and I'm going to show you how it ties back to either finance and or real estate. So they throwing out, little softball stuff like hospital. Well, I want to own the dirt that you developed the hospital. That's easy. Then they get the somewhat complicated stuff. Computers. Ms. Robinson, computers ain't got nothing to do with real estate. So well, let's say if you connect to the internet, that system is wired somewhere, typically a server.
Right. That
server is in a building. That building is on a piece of real estate. I want to own that dirt that the building's on. So then like, okay, well, what about space? So I got that. That's easy. That's easy. So the space shuttle is sitting where? Cape Canaveral. That's dirt. Someone owns the dirt that the space shuttle is sitting on. Why can't it be us? Right? So then, let me take a step further. So now when it launches into the atmosphere, goes into space, it has to dock somewhere. It has to go to a physical presence, space station,
right?
Why can't we own
the space station?
It's all real estate, and the underpinning of that is the technology, the research, all has to be funded. It all has to be funded.
So you bringing that heat today, boy? I'm starting to sweat.
So tying it back to the whole the story I gave about Morehouse, that's why I majored in finance, because it is they say accounting is the language of business, but finance is kind of the veins or the
and that's the lifeblood.
It's the lifeblood.
It's the lifeblood, right?
It's the lifeblood.
Right. It's to keep it high level. That's the lifeblood.
It's the lifeblood.
And that's, it's really, you touched on it and people in finance, and this is when you say, well, hey, man, I want you to just come and see, what you're doing over here, what the show's about. But I'm going to tell you exactly what the show is about this, right? Just what you just posed to those kids. Mm-hmm. This is the same thing I've been saying on this show for 117 episodes. Everything you do in life is tied to personal finance.
Yes.
From when you're born, if you have, and I'll give you an example. I got 3 kids. My oldest daughter, when she was born, I was young, just getting out of college, didn't have no money, didn't have a car, living in an apartment, and we were on WIC. We had WIC, and then we had coverage through the county. Now, we had a doctor, but the doctor was supplied through the county. I didn't get to pick the doctor was through the county. Right?
How old were you again?
I was like 20, man, I was 24, 23 and a half. You know what I'm saying? Because I got married the year after I graduated from undergrad. So, and then my second daughter, she was born at a different hospital. Mm-hmm. But she was born at one of the most prestigious hospitals in Washington, D.C. to this day, which is Sibley Memorial Hospital. My oldest daughter was born at a county hospital, Prince George's Community Hospital, right? My daughter, my son and my youngest daughter, both of them was born at Sibley Memorial Hospital. But even then, it's like, so that's the birth. And then everything in between, where you live, what you drive, what you wear, what you eat, where you go to college, where you don't go to college, where
how you die.
And then how you die, right? Because I just had this conversation with somebody, recently. It was like, okay, people coming at me saying, okay, I can't have a funeral. We need to cremate him. Why? Is that because you just don't want to have no funeral? No, that's because you don't have $7,000
Right.
to put into that type. Yeah, I would love to have a funeral, but we don't have it,
Right.
right? So we're gonna go the cremation route, right? So very few people go the cremation route if they got a bunch of bread.
Yep.
So what I try to do each and every week is like, okay, I'm gonna come on the show. You gonna share your information. What I do every week, I come on the show, I share some information, and we talk about the basics. So like with you in commercial finance, we not getting into derivatives.
No.
We not getting. We just like I'm just giving the basics.
No.
Like I'm doing tackling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Block and tackle.
Block and tackle.
Yeah.
So I'm doing
Same
savings
thing.
and got their credit
Right.
and got their debt elimination
Right.
and budgets.
Right.
Right? Because there's millions of people that's still struggling with that. And now, I'm old enough now at 52 to say, okay, I got a whole generation. I see my daughter on. Shout out to my daughter. Ask, I see you. Ask the millennial agent. Y'all need some good insurance. You need a great agent. Call Ask the Millennial Agent. And then I see my son on. You know, the young king. So and then I can't leave out my beautiful wife because I want peace when I get home. So shout out to my beautiful wife. You know, ooh, you know what I'm saying. But but even in saying that, Joe, every week I come, man, I get so excited to talk to people about this because you know my thing is this: don't come and listen to. I want 1 million people to listen to my show. That's why I go out and I hustle and I try to meet people and I try to talk and this, that, and other. But at the end of the day, my purpose, and this is, and I really found it on this show, my purpose is really just to come on and educate people, to get motivated about making changes in their financial life, and then elevate themselves, right? Because you can't teach like you say, hey, my son had a project. You can't teach your son what you don't know, right? So I'm trying to get at people at an earlier age, 26, 27, 25, saying, hey, I can show you some stuff, put some stuff in you. You ain't gonna do it all because you're young, I get it, but if just some of that stick, you're gonna think differently. Because I'm exposing you to some stuff that's real, right? So you know in the world of finance, you see how these cats, they running things. We run out trying to improve our credit score. These cats are like leveraging, got their bonds, right? They ain't even, they like personal credit. Like,
I was always taught that if you had money, you don't need credit. If you got cash, you don't need credit.
Wait a minute, man. I don't think you're right, man. Say that again.
What I was
Wait a minute, man. Say that.
And again, you'll hear some fundamental things that I've gathered over 23, 24 years of being in the industry. But one thing is, if you have cash, who cares about credit? The people that use credit don't have cash. They a lot of times. Now these are some generalizations, but for the most part,
No, but that's
if
I
I'm
mean,
flush
deep
with cash, I don't need no credit card.
Listen, man. Listen.
Or if I do, I use it from a leverage perspective, from a healthy side versus accumulating assets that don't mean it. But I don't want to get too.
No, we need to talk right now. We gonna deal with this, man. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, we gonna deal with this because what you said, and I don't want it to be like pie in the sky. So they, you know, people like, oh man, you got to. I was talking to a brother today, and this was the topic. He said, look, man, what I did was I borrowed like $10,000 from the bank, and then I went and got a line of credit, right, on a credit card, and I went out and bought a house. And I took the line of credit, and I brought my materials. I paid for the labor. They rehabbed the house, and then I sold it. I took the profits from the house. I paid off the bank. I paid off the credit card, and now I'm back doing that again. And he said, He said, the best part of all of that, I didn't use none of my money.
I've heard that story.
Right? Now he said, and then he took it deeper. So I'm gonna put y'all up on game, because when the dude said this, I said, dang. He said, what I'm working on is I'm working on building my ability to acquire larger credit cards, $50,000, $100,000. He said, why? He said, because I want to buy real estate with a credit card, right? He said, what happens if I don't pay the credit card bill? He said, what if I buy a house for $50,000 and all of a sudden I can't pay the credit card bill? What happens to the house?
You still got the house. Yeah.
He's like, well, if you get a mortgage and you don't pay the mortgage, what happened to the house?
They take the house. Yeah, that's unsecured. So yeah, that's smart.
Bro, when he
People
hit
are
me with
doing
that, man, I said, I was like, oh,
and people are
snap.
doing that on a larger scale. But fundamentally, for the folks hopefully listening and people we are trying to target, it starts fundamentally with saving cash and getting your nest egg built up. And that might be as small as you can think. But it might come down to, if I eat out 4 times a week, I might cut that down to 3 times a week, just starting out, and then get it down to once a week.
So,
but
man,
the savings from that is where all of this stuff starts, man.
Listen, Joe.
It's real simple.
Listen.
Blocking and tackling.
Listen, man. I'm gonna tell you like this. I feel like I've only felt this feeling a few times in my life. You know what I feel like?
What's that?
You know how, and you got kids, so you didn't experience this.
Yep.
You know how you've been talking to your son or daughter about something, just like, you know what? This is what you need to do. Because if you do this, this is gonna do that. And they looking at you like, yeah, all right, Dad.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, they like, all right.
Okay.
And then I run into him one day, and we joking around. I said, hey, make sure you do the project, sit in the front of the class and get good grades. And they be like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. And you looking like, bruh, last week's episode was about what? The power of saving.
Oh man.
The power of saving.
Yeah.
That was last week.
Saving cash will literally save your life in some instances. Because we're talking healthcare. I mean, I got a whole bunch of stuff I sent you from the
Oh, we
outline.
going on the outline.
Yeah. So I mean, but it starts with the fundamental saving. Period. You can't get around it. There's no replacing being flush with cash. And full disclosure, we all struggle with that.
Right.
As we're going in our careers, and I'm conservative, like I said, by nature. So, again, a little bit of backstory. I drive a 15-year-old vehicle with 289,000 miles, Toyota Highlander. Love it to death. Tail light out. It's dirty. It's smoke. But I could care less. House is 12 years old. Use a portion of my real estate commission to use for the down payment because it didn't make sense to get at 6%, 3%, or whatever away. But conservative in the sense that everything I do is to try to be more liquid, right? Bring my lunch, breakfast, snacks, lunch, snacks. I save probably, by my calculation, about $230 a month just by doing that. Plus, it's healthier because I know the food. I wash my hands when I'm making my sandwiches and preparing my meals. If you go out, you just never know what you get. So there's so many
You bring that heat tonight.
ancillary side
God,
benefits.
hey, I'm about to walk off, man. Bro, this is your last time on the show.
No, I gotta come back.
This right here, man, they be like, man, forget it. They be like, man, forget, dog, man. I'm gonna tune in to Joe Rob. No, man, but that's real, man.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real, man, because I know another brother, again, I know another brother that I used to work with, right? We used to work together, and he used to tell the same story. This is the same thing I tell my kids. Don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do.
Mm-hmm.
This dude would bring a lunch. And I know he was making good bread. Every day he had his own lunch.
Oh, bro.
He had his little lunch bag. But when I tell you, this man is liquid, super liquid. You on with the Daily Bread Show? This is Joaquin Thompson, your host. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, it's LaGressa.
Ah! Hey, man, wait a minute. Hold up, dog. Now, I'm going to feel some type of way, man. Look, bro, I've been doing this show for 2 years, man. Listen, bro. I've been doing this show for 2 years. And I've been knowing you since you was maybe like 11 or 12 years old. You a year older than me. Listen.
That means you was 9.
That mean I was like 9, right? And you wait till I bring on some goddamn bros onto my show, then you gonna wait till I bring some bros for you to call into my show, dog.
Actually, that's not what it was, bro. Hey, and I am remiss for not chiming in earlier, but
you hit on something that's really important that we don't teach the youth about financial literacy because they have no idea about how to handle their finances. They have no idea about credit scores. And the reason why I really wanted to chime in, because I'm over Lamplighters, and I wanted to reach out to you when you come back home and you have some time to give a presentation to young men so they can understand about financial literacy. Because we didn't have that, coming up.
Right. Hey, dog, you right,
we
man.
learned it once we became older.
Right.
But our parents had those things in mind because they made our lives a lot easier. We didn't even understand and respect how bills need to be paid and things need to be done.
That's true, dog. Hey, but and I'm planning to come to Jack's, man, in a few weeks. So what I'll do is I got your number. I'll reach out to you, man, and before I get down there, but I'll reach out to you like before the weekend is out, and then we'll set up some time to so that way my schedule will mesh with the Lamplighters, and then I'll come down and I'll do it, dog. On the shield, I'll do that, no doubt.
You was about to get on that.
And the thing that made me reach out, and I'm not sure if my conversation is on your live web, but all the stuff that you've been doing with your new finance and your mortgage thing,
Yeah.
that is something that we didn't even think about. Because I know people that were our age when we got out of school, we were renting forever, and we had bought a starter home and got some equity, and then understood how that promotes your credit rating, and then once your credit rating is 7 or above, you can do anything you want to do. It's not even based on your income; it's based on your credit rating.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yes.
So I just want to give you a shout out for what you've been doing, but I logged on and I saw you. I said I just gotta step up. So.
Dog, I appreciate you, man.
And we could.
No, for sure, dog. Always. Come on, man.
No.
Come on, man. Hey, man. Hey, bro. I know. Listen. I'm gonna leave you with this. I'm gonna call you, but to the bros, you polo, but to me, you champ, bro. So you always gonna be champ to me.
Hey, I ran into you remember Netta Carter?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So we was over there, Carlos Fields, I was watching the game, and I came in and she said, "Oh, the girl said," somebody said, "Oh, that's Champ," and she was like, "Oh, damn, I forgot what name it's called." I know somebody called me Champ, they know me from the hood.
That's it, baby. That's it. Hey, dog, I appreciate you calling into the show, man. And like I said, I'll reach out to you before the weekend out, and we'll get that set up.
And you keep on doing what you've been doing, man, because you're doing a great job, and you just doing that watchword, and you just doing service. So, bro, appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the support, dog.
All right, dog, keep it real.
All right, you too, dog. Rude. Man, so I mean, it's just just like what we was talking about, the savings, and just getting that information. Cause like what he was saying, this bro here, he got a group called Lamplighters. But I go around to, man, I got an 8-year-old grandson.
Okay.
And the stuff that we talking about, the conversation me and you having here with the audience, I'm having that conversation with him right now at 8.
And if you're not, if folks listening are not having those conversations with their grandkids and their children, that's one of the biggest mistakes. You gotta talk about everything else. You gotta talk about money and what it means, how it works, mistakes you made, be honest about, stupid decisions, all of that.
Bro, and that's what in the show, the reason this show has been able to, I guess you would say, be catapulted into the stuff that we do is because of what you just said. I come on, I'm giving them full transparency.
That's right.
Like I done had a bankruptcy,
Yeah.
I done had a near foreclosure, I had
Right.
bank liens, I done had repo.
Right.
My car got repossessed coming from church.
Right.
So if your car get repossessed coming from church, then you know it ain't God. That's you. That's you. You know what I'm saying? Like I was on a Wednesday, it wasn't even on Sunday. So I was putting in some overtime at church, and I come, man, and the repo man and took my car, man, on Wednesday night. Overtime at church, bro. You know, you go morning Sunday. But so what else you want to get into, man? You sent me I said, man, send me the outline. You sent me that, bro.
That's my
So
outline. That's my outline.
Go, dog. I ain't gonna see.
That's my outline.
Brian,
It got intro, background.
All right, dog. I'm like, I'm good, man. Go.
So the reason why I wanted to start with background because I wanted to lead into kind of stuff that I'm doing now.
For sure, because that's what we talked about.
Because that's what we had talked about. And so from that discussion I gave y'all 10, 15 minutes ago about how I even came to be in commercial real estate and finance through Alan Panano led me to get a job at SunTrust Bank in commercial lending. And at the time, banking was strictly white male. In fact, I think when I started, this was 1996, there were 80 commercial lenders in all of SunTrust commercial lending, and there were 8 blacks in the whole
10%.
SunTrust.
The talented 10.
Talented 10. And
Talented 10.
I was one of those 8. So went through the commercial bank training program, learned the fundamentals of banking. 10 years working there. Worked in commercial where we targeted companies that were $5 million to $50 million in revenue to lend money to. And then did that for 4.5 years, moved over to credit. So credit at the bank back then, and probably still now, you literally had to present the largest credits to the division heads of major divisions in the bank. So if it was a $5 million credit up to say $50 million, you had to present that to basically the board to say, this is what we doing. So you had to be tight on everything. And you know this, you ain't finna stay nowhere 10 years, you ain't tight on this stuff.
Oh, nah, especially
So,
especially if you the talented too.
Yeah, not in that environment. So I did that for 4.5, almost 5 years, went to credit. Then we had a guy, visionary, Jim Minor, who's still with us, older white guy, who had a vision to have housing in downtown Atlanta. And the whole affordable housing, none of that was even on the radar. That was being talked about in DC through Treasury. But Jim said, listen, there are more people moving from Philly and Chicago and New York to Atlanta. They don't want to live in the suburbs. They want to live in the city. So why can't we provide a product that would allow them to do that? And so through his vision, the first condo/loft developments were built, which was the John Deere lofts in downtown Atlanta. And so he was recruiting heavily in the bank for people that he knew had a background in commercial lending and had the credit, and I was one of those people that he recruited. And that exposure got me into affordable housing. And so low-income housing tax credit, LIHTC, is the terminology you'll hear most often, was created around 2001. Getting down,
While you was being challenged?
Yeah, challenged personally.
While you was going through your personal challenge?
Right, and so I got exposed to a whole different world. So you got a whole segment, a market of LIHTC lenders, developers, asset managers, attorneys, which is completely separate than traditional commercial real estate, because it's a federally backed program that subsidizes the creation of affordable housing to a specific population, typically 60% of AMI, area median income, for those of you listening. And this housing is again sponsored through Treasury. And so I got exposed to that and said, wow, these people are going into communities like Jacksonville, Duval County, Shelby County, Tennessee, where I'm from, Memphis, but no one looks like us at all. On the development side, on the lending side, on the asset management side, nobody. And so I was like, this is my niche. This is where I need to kind of carve out my space. And sure enough, that led me to get a job at the big boys at Fannie Mae. So after 10 years of career at SunTrust, doing that kind of work, 5 years doing the LIHTC specific work, asset management as well, I jumped over to Fannie Mae. And that was profound because this was pre-crash. So 06, 07, I was at Fannie Mae, warehousing, then the markets went to hell in a handbasket.
Right.
So I got all of that. So my whole point to speed this thing up is all of the exposure that you guys get in your life and your career can always be a teachable moment to teach you how to be better in whatever field or niche that you have, and then to help somebody else. Because through all of those trials and tribulations, about to be getting laid off, interviewing for my job 5 times, when Fannie Mae went into conservatorship, to being recruited by Jim to come over to the Tech team and all that stuff. It just gave me a perspective that there is a whole world of stuff that particularly black folks, you hear people of color, but black folks are not being exposed to, but it's directly affecting us because they're coming
Like
into our
opportunity
community.
zones.
Yeah, OZs. Did I have it on my list? Yeah, it should have been on my list. But
Like opportunity
I got
zones.
housing and real estate on my list. Yeah, opportunity zones, absolutely. So that could be a whole nother topic for a whole nother day, because that's a federal program too.
Yeah.
That's definitely a federal program too. But I really wanted to talk a little bit about real estate in the sense that it's more than just buying and selling housing.
Okay, let's talk about that, because a lot of people think it's, you know, getting into like doing flips. And then I had a brother that was on here, man, TJ, right?
Mm-hmm.
This brother so goddamn deep, Joe. He's from Compton, and TJ Lofton and Thomas Lofton, but he's credited with being the pioneer of the lowrider.
Okay.
Right, like he started designing. Thank you for calling the Daily Bear Radio Show. This is Joaquin, your host. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hi, this is Toya calling from Houston.
Okay, how you doing, Toya?
I'm great. How you guys doing?
Oh, we doing great. We doing great.
That's great. I have a question about this real estate. I'm watching the show,
Okay.
and I have a question. I heard you talk about opportunity zones. Just talking about that this year. I want to know, have you ever heard of Land Bank Authority?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I've been doing some research trying to get a hold of some Land Bank Authority homes. And every real estate agent that I've dealt with, they found it complicated to be able to retrieve those. Can you give me some insight on probably what it would take to really get them? I mean, I know that I should be able to have access in them, but I'm in Spalding County. And every time I go to try to retrieve the information, there's an issue. If I go look at a home, the police came and was like, if you don't have the proper credentials, you can't check out the home. Can you kind of fill me in on how or what would be the best way to try to retrieve some of those homes from the Land Bank Authority?
Okay, I can give you a little insight to drop it. Tell me again what county you're in. I thought I heard you say Spalding County.
Yeah.
Spalding County. Okay, so the land bank here in the city, in Metro, is the Atlanta Fulton County Land Bank Authority, which is run by none other than Christopher Kent Norman, our frat brother.
Oh God! Yeah. Look, I'm taking notes. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Call Chris tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So that good brother, the land bank is a quasi-governmental entity, meaning that it's part private, part run by the city, part run by the county, Fulton County. And the specific goal of the land bank in most instances, particularly started in the Northeast, is to keep the cost of land low, because the land is actually owned in essence by like a co-op, like a shared ownership. So it's dual purpose. It's one, to house abandoned and vacant properties, single family homes, commercial homes, etc., and then allow those properties then to be distributed back into the community to where the prices can be moderate, if you will, not escalated. So a way to house property and then to put it back in the community to where folks can use it. Now, in a lot of instances, it really depends on how the land bank is set up. It may not be accessible from an individual. It might be only accessible through a nonprofit organization or corporation, depending on how the land bank is set up. So that's kind of where my knowledge and information on the land bank kind of stops. What I would recommend doing is calling the land bank directly. You don't necessarily have to deal with a real estate agent when we're talking about land bank authority, and that's really anything when it comes to municipalities. You don't really need a middleman. You just need to know the organization and directly reach out to them. So what I would do is I would reach out directly to the Land Bank Authority, Atlanta Fulton County Land Bank Authority. And like I said, the executive director is Christopher Norman. all of this on the website, so the information I'm giving is 100% public. And just say, hey, listen, I have an interest in getting land bank property. How can I do that? And they should be able to, without an agent being involved, tell you how you could be able to access that.
Okay, so let me ask you, are you accessible maybe via Facebook? Because I have an idea, a big idea that I would rather not disclose on air, but I know I'm gonna need people with more insight and more knowledge about these homes. Is there like a website or a Facebook page that I can probably get in touch with you and
Yeah, let me-
a little bit of the idea?
Let me give you the email for the show. And then, Joe's my guest and I can get the information to him. So if you send your correspondence to Daily Bread Radio Show at yahoo.com.
I'm sorry, what's it one more time?
Daily
Daily Bread?
Daily Bread Radio Show
Mm-hmm.
at yahoo.com. And then our office number is 470-322-5122. So you can send us, send a call or a text or leave a voicemail on the office number, then I'll get the information over to Joe.
So do you guys, do you do the show every Thursday?
Every Thursday for 117 weeks. So this is episode 118, so I'm glad you called in. Make sure you tune in next week. We're going to have an awesome show next week. We're bringing on speaking of real estate, bringing in 2 young brothers that's, I think they 26 and 27, that's literally taking that buying the block. They taking that seriously. So I'm going to bring them on next week, and then it's a third brother that's started a transportation company. So, but yeah, to answer your question, yeah, we do this every Thursday, 8 to 9 p.m., Facebook Live, and then we upload the videos to YouTube. And we got a TV show
Well,
coming
hopefully
soon.
I can drop in. Because I do the morning show with Raheem, so I might be able to make it.
Oh, well, come
drop
through.
in and make some acquaintances.
Yeah, come through. I don't know who Raheem is, but you know what I'm saying? You're welcome to come by.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening, and thanks for calling.
Yeah, thanks.
Dang, that was deep.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of information out there. We just got to get exposed to it and expose our folks. to it.
Man, but one of the things that you said though that was really, and I always tell people is, it's available, right? But they'll put these little nuances to it, like what as an individual, you can't do that. But if you're a nonprofit,
Correct.
right, or a corporation,
Right.
then you can have access.
Yeah, and you can become a corporation by forming an LLC. It doesn't mean you got to be Coca-Cola. Be a corporation.
So you could be like JL Capital LLC,
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
Or you could be a nonprofit like the American Financial Literacy Association,
Boom.
right?
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm taking those calls,
That's
Chris.
it. That's it. Yeah, then you definitely should do that.
Oh, I'm doing that.
And then part of it, again, it comes back, okay, let's say where the sister's able to access it. They might say you need, 20% funding or whatever. So that's where the savings come in at. You gotta have that bread in your pocket to roll in and do anything.
So,
Fundamentally, that's where we gotta vote. Because at the end of the day, no one, back in the day, you might could get 100% financing, but nowadays, it's rare to get 100% financing.
yeah, they want some skin.
They got
But the
skin.
skin they talk about is like, you could come up with that.
Go
Right?
right.
Because that's when I went out and talked to the dude, he made it, like he was talking to me like, that was like we was going into outer space. He just said, I was talking to him about an investment loan for some property, for some land.
Okay.
Right? Because the dude, TJ, before she called, that's what I was talking about. He was saying, when he talked to me, he said, bro, I don't even, man, all that flipping. And he's, no. He said, you want to become a land developer. He was sitting right where you were sitting. He said, you want to become a land owner and a land developer.
I agree.
He said, that's what you need to be teaching. He said, that's what we doing. He said, all that flipping? No. Land development. So that's what when he said that,
Now,
I'm taking notes.
but flipping can, let's step back. Let's say you take cash you save from not eat now, and you flip.
Yeah.
And you turn that into some bread. So my point is, we can all start in a whole bunch of different areas. Yeah,
No doubt. But I think his point, that's what he said, your end game shouldn't be that.
Great point, and he makes a very valid point. Because my mind has been kind of changed, and my mindset from what I used to be a buy and hold guy, and I still am a buy and hold guy to a degree on single family properties. But now I'm looking at, well, we buying a block, then we need to own everything in the block, which is retail and commercial. So just
Right.
coming up 78 from my house, I live in Ellenwood, just coming up 78, I used to come out here all the time, because we used to live back by Indian Creek. So I used to be
Okay.
out here all the time. And I never paid attention to, even though I was in, it's crazy enough, even though I was in commercial real estate, the commercial real estate I was focused on was residential. Multifamily housing, yada, yada, yada. Now I'm like, well, if we buying all of this other stuff, we need to be looking at retail. If the move now is going back into urban cores are designed around neighborhoods, and neighborhoods have a center, which is a retail center, typically all the goods and services and products that community needs. And you can drive in almost any neighborhood now, particularly one that have been redeveloped, and you see that abandoned old gas station, or
Right.
that abandoned old laundromat. So now my focus is on how do we reposition from a commercial real estate perspective, to TJ's point, not flipping and all that, but owning those little part and parcels of commercial real estate.
Now listen, when he was on the show, like I said, he's from LA, right? So when he was on the show, that was the example that he gave. Because he said, look, in Compton, a 2-bedroom house in Compton right now, $800,000. So what's starting to happen is people can't afford to live in California, so then they start to come east. They come to Atlanta. And that's just what you just said. He was like, man, I'm driving around here, I'm seeing buildings. I call on the building. The people are like, oh man, you should have caught it like, 6-7 months ago. It was much cheaper. And he's like, well, how much is it now? He's like, oh, they want 150 now. He's like, 150,000, and it's 3 stories, and he was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm buying that. That's what he's like,
That's
oh,
right.
I'm buying that.
That's yes.
Right?
That's right.
So I'm like, that's crucial, man.
And so we should be able to do that if it's not one individual or 2 individuals like TJ and maybe his partners, collectively. Right. Collectively.
Right.
So you got $1,000, I got $1,000, but Raheem got $1,000, and we get some more people with $1,000.
we
We can get something.
right. And see that, look, and
Something.
that is what we talking about
Yeah.
on the Daily Bread Show, because all of us don't have to have 100,000,
No.
right? If we bring 10 people to the table with 1,000,
Yeah.
we got our down payment. We do our first flip,
Correct.
take the first flip,
Right.
get all our money back. We get our principal back. Okay, you back in. It's just like playing Monopoly. You back in.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm
It
back
is.
in.
It
Like
is.
I'm in again.
It is.
You right?
It is.
So but we got to get
Gotta
into
take
the
some
habit
risks.
of, and
They
then
take some risks.
and then the other part of that too, though, that I don't want people to miss is this. Then you partner with people with the expertise,
Correct.
right? Because that's the other thing that they didn't teach us was like, look, you could get money, but they want you to put a package together,
Yes.
a pitch deck that shows everybody's experience, everybody's personal financial statement, everybody's background, a nice little headshot, not a selfie, right? Have it bound. You can go to Kinko's, get it bound in a little book. But when you present that to the bank and you got your down payment, you're not asking.
Nah.
You telling them like, bro, I'm here.
I got a quick story on
No,
that.
go ahead.
Quick story on that is my 2 middle brothers. I'm the oldest of 4, a split family. My 2 middle brothers, 40 and 39, literally have been working fast food their entire careers. From teens to now, they've been working in Taco Bell, something like that. So I said, guys, if y'all are gonna work fast food, don't have aspirations to go off school ain't for everybody, I get it, fine. At least get the knowledge and information so that when we decide to do something, we can come together as owner-operators of a fill in the blank. So now you got, what I suggested to them, this is 15 years ago, I said, leave Taco Bell, go to Subway, or go to
Jimmy John's.
Pizza, what's the pizza place? Little Caesars.
Little Caesar.
Because those were, when I was doing research, those were franchises that were most affordable. Fastest growing, most affordable. They didn't heed the information, but still, there is opportunity for people who have backgrounds in food service to partner with people who have cash to be owner operators. So you go from making, this is what I was telling them, you go from making $10, $12 an hour, $8 to $12 an hour, to making $40,000 a year as an owner operator of the franchise that you've been working for $8 for 10 years. So there's so many ways to skin this cat. So if you have, my point though is, if you have a niche or you have a experience in something, your experience might be different from Brother Joaquin from mine, but we can all come together to get some of this bread that's out here. And so what I was trying to explain to them was, get the experience at Subway for 5-7 years. And to your point, we're gonna put this beautiful package together to go to Subway and say, hey, we want 2 or 3 Subway franchises. We bringing money to the table, but on top of that, we bringing 10 years of tangible operating experience. How they gonna say no?
They gonna say 3. No, we got 10.
We got 10 for y'all.
Right?
Yeah. So that still might be in the works. So my brother's working at Taco Bell, has rose to assistant manager back in Memphis, and so we've been talking about a few things.
But that's good, because it ain't. And that's the thing that I always try to make sure that I inspire to, my audience to, is like, don't think it's too late.
Right, I was never too late.
Like we in our
No.
50s now, people. And I'm
No,
like,
yeah.
but people live in the 80s, so I'm like,
Yeah.
some people gonna get their run while they're young.
Correct.
Right? So
Right.
yeah, you got your Grammy while you was young, you got your this, but I'm like, bruh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get mine.
Yeah.
Right? But it ain't gonna be while I'm young. I done did that part, and now we moving on to the next
Well,
thing.
because the fundamentals don't change. The fundamentals of savings don't ever change. I don't care how old you are. Having more cash in the bank is better than having less cash in the bank, whether you 80 or 8. It don't really matter. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, listen, man. Look, man, man, you got to come back.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to come back.
Bro, we at the top of the hour. Hey, every week on the Daily Bread Show, one of the things, and you all know I'm a big proponent about reading, the power of reading, what it can do for you. So every week we highlight a different book, and the caveat or the criteria is that I've already read the book. So I don't just bring any kind of book on here and just, oh yeah, you should read this, and I haven't read it. This book, I've been bringing some real killers recently. Last week it was The Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh, read it.
Now this book, I'm gonna put y'all up on. If you go and get it and you read it, it'll change your life. Because this is written by a billionaire. This man was a billionaire in the early 1900s. So I'm not talking about a Jerry Jones billionaire. I'm talking about, this is J. Paul Getty, right? So the name of the book is J. Paul Getty, How to Be Rich. Now, if that title don't grab you, put it this way. This man was a billionaire in the early 20th century, right? He had so much money that it's still going today, right? Getty Oil, that's J. Paul Getty, right? Not only was he in Getty Oil, but he was also in finance, right? This is the guy that was, put it this way, the person that was his lieutenant that he hired to help run his business was who? Charles Schwab. J. Paul Getty. He groomed Charles Schwab. So you could go out to Amazon. This book is only like, I'm going to say, it's $6.99 on the cover. But I promise you, if you go to Amazon or wherever they sell books, you could probably get this book for like $1, $2. Get this book, read it, and when I tell you, it gives you everything from character to taking risks to saving money to investing to the businessman at bay, about these people who profess themselves to be businessmen, but they don't know everybody's job. They just got a title. He talks about all of that, right? And he talks about getting results.
Free on Audible.
Right? It's free on Audible. So if you go to Audible, you can get it for free.
Wow.
Right? So this is the book of the week, J. Paul Getty, How to Be Rich. My guest tonight, if you all didn't, if you didn't tune in, if you're gonna, listen to the rebroadcast, I would strongly encourage you to do so, because this brother sitting right here, he dropped some jewels on you all, and some of them might have went, because look, I got a page full of notes, and I'm the host, right? So if I took a page full of notes and I'm the host, you should have at least a page full of notes. And if you don't have a page full of notes, that's fine. Go back, listen to the rebroadcast, and like I always say, don't just listen, put it in action. Put it in play. Hey man, when you start to play the music? I'm thinking the guest, bruh.
Can I come back, man?
Bruh,
Please.
bruh, come on, dog.
Okay.
Can you come back?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
'Cause
Hey, this the Sixers, man. You could come, put it this way, you could come back at any time,
Yeah.
right? So all that we and you got to do is coordinate our calendars, and then I'll have you back on. But next week, y'all make sure y'all stay tuned in next week. because we're going to have Triple M. We're going to have the Millennial Money Moguls on next week. The Millennial Money Moguls. So the young people doing it, we're going to bring them on. So y'all stay tuned next week. 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on the Daily Bread Radio Show with who?
Hit him with it.
Your favorite goddamn Q.
Hit him with it. Oh, you got a co-sign over there tonight.
Co-sign. Aya.